afternoon, dear students. My name is Beneafo Hangula. I'm going to present to you Economics Didactics and Learner Support. This is for the Advanced Certificate in Secondary Education. I am standing in for Mr. Muela Shanika, who is your tutor. He is unable to join us today. Economics Didactics and Learner Support is more focused on enhancing you with the right methodology and techniques for your teaching career. Let me just urge you to listen attentively, and we can get on with our lesson. Teaching skills. This subject deals largely with understanding the teaching techniques that educators need to have in order to deliver an effective and lasting learning experience among the learners. Various researchers have come up with numerous approaches and tactics designed to make both classroom and off-site learning achieve its stated objectives. Effective learner participation can be a sign that learners understand the subject matter, and continuous class attendance can be a confirmation that the class is in the right direction. This is also where you have to make sure that you know the features of an effective explanation in a classroom. Effective teaching delivery. You as an educator need to have a responsibility to ensure the effective teaching methodologies in order to ensure an effective learning environment within your learners or amongst the classroom. It's also your responsibility of you as an educator to make sure that learners understand the message through the use of various techniques, among them body language and the use of practical examples. Practical examples can be you taking out pamphlets from newspapers, recording a small recording from a radio or TV, so that students are able to really grasp on the concept you are teaching them. The learning atmosphere is also needed to be adequate to suit the age of the group of learners you are conducting your class to. For example, color graphics for preschool is designed to entice and to enlist the attention of kids which are aged below 6 or not over 6. For a bigger group, you would need at least posters or newspaper articles to enhance the attention for a specific teaching of that class. As age groups rise to graded education level, more real-life adaptations are added and more focus to put the learner participation in rates. So in this case, you would be asked, how would you encourage learner participation in a class, or how would you support underachievers in a classroom? There is a feature to an effective explanation when you are conducting your class to learners. One of them is keeping explanations short and simple as possible, use an appropriate tone and voice, maintaining constant eye contact with the learners, using concrete examples. This can be PowerPoint, real-life examples that people are able to conceptualize or relate to, constantly summarizing key points, maintaining learners' response to gauge understanding, asking learners questions for them to summarize key facts, because this is the part where you also get to identify underachievers in a classroom. This is also where you would identify kids or learners that need special attention within a classroom. You as an educator or teacher of economics didactics, you also need to understand the dynamics or of supply and demand within an economy. You need to be equipped in such a way that you're able to deliver these concepts to the kids to understand and be able to relate as well. Economics can be loosely defined as how economic agents go about to satisfy the needs and wants of the society people with the limited resources that you have learned about in economics. So when we talk of demand, in economics, demand measures the amount of goods and services consumers are willing and able to buy at any given point or price. So in turn, demand is equally related to supply, because supply is the amount suppliers are willing to supply at a given price. So suppliers at times are more willing to supply more of a good at a higher price of a service. So in these terms, be able to understand these dynamics, be able to use real examples when you are teaching to the kids what they mean, or to the learners, so that the kids understand the concepts. In any economics part, we talk about the welfare responsibility of a government. All over the world, governments have a responsibility to ensure the needs and wants of a population to be catered for. One of these roles is ensuring the standard of people within the country is improved, ensuring poverty is eradicated, providing employment opportunities for the youth, providing adequate infrastructure within your economy, and last but not least is providing an enabling economic system. In such cases, you should be able to use real-life examples on these responsibilities. You can use the Harambe, you can use NDPs that we have that are focused on infrastructure, focused on employment opportunities for the youth within your country. Economic growth and the environment. When it comes to modern economics, it has been cited as a major contributor to the myriad of environmental disasters such as earthquakes, poor rainfall patterns, and excessive drought. Consequently, there has been a growth in environmental activism, with environmental pressure groups advocating for sustainable economic activity. Sustainable economic activity requires the industry to avoid or reduce the damage to the environment in their pursuit for the economic gain or economic elevation. Concepts such as sustainability reporting and the Global Reporting Initiative, the triple button reporting, have assumed greater significance to the government in such cases. The sustainability report is a report that gives information about the economic, environment, and social performance of a government, which or a country, which sort of gives guidance in planning processes and procedures within a certain time in an economy. The gross domestic product and government spending. Gross domestic product is one of the indicators used to get or test or get results on the economic performance of a country's productivity. So in other words, we would say gross domestic product is an important measure of the country's level of productivity. It is abbreviated by GDP, and it measures the country's output by the nation of the country. On the other hand, gross national product measures the output by nations of country, regardless of where they are in the world. Every year or half yearly or still every quarter or month, some government will make plans for their future spending and will regularly allocate resources according to such plans. GDP, national government, and corporate performance are linked as well in economics. Some institutions, particularly the private and entities or profit-making entities regularly measure and report their performance to the national press. This is done so that shareholders and other investors can gauge company performance in order to continue investing in such organizations or whether they should sell their shares. This is merely to say that companies report to engage interest so that people invest more in their companies. Stock exchange enables companies to list the shares that of companies that want to sell or buy shares can easily do so. An advantage of listing shares on the stock exchange is to enable such shares to be bought and sold on a daily basis. So you as an educator or teacher for economics should be able to understand the stock exchange, its advantages, its benefits, and consequences to companies. It is also because of vehicles such as stock exchange that give some companies have become successful to earn themselves household names. Successful companies have constantly enjoyed above average performance, with their shares outperforming their peers on the stock exchange. It will also be beneficial for you to know the different stock exchange, like we have the Namibia, we have the JSE, which is the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and other stock exchange worldwide. It is for the above reason that most successful companies attract high caliber employees and is also constantly paying a high dividends to their shareholders. Money is one of the most, or not one of the most important concepts in economics as well, because all countries of the world use money as a means of exchange. In Namibia, the official currency we use, as we all know, is the Namibian dollar. The Namibian dollar is used alongside the South African rand. In other words, we say it's pegged to the South African rand. However, Namibia does not exist in isolation. This means Namibia carries international trade together with other countries of the world. Therefore, there are other currencies that can be bought from the official monetary and financial system to facilitate international trade. These currencies are normally bought from commercial banks of your country. One of the major currencies that are used for trading in the world are namely the United States dollar, which we call US dollars in other words. We have the British pound, we have the euro, we have the Chinese yen. This mainly because Chinese has been ranked as one of the highest industrialized economies in the world. They are major currencies that are used for international transactions, and international trade will entail you buying and selling of these currencies. The place where this happens of the buying and selling of foreign currencies is called a forex market. Please emphasize or put more of effort in learning about the forex market as well. Like most things or most concepts, there are benefits. The benefits of money is it can be described in so many terms, but we start off with what was used before the introduction of money. International trade or local trade would have been done by using a system called barter trade. This is where I trade in a good that I don't need for something else, and obviously I might receive what I will need. Barter trading involved the exchange of goods and services in kind, and this meant trading was not going to be easy. Again, distance would have made it impossible to transport a live sheep or cattle to far fields such as China and Australia. Think across world diseases that could be transferred with animals. This would be a debacle to most of the economies. Or what if a buyer would reject them when they already arrived in China? We have different types of category for money. The first one is called the M1. This is a mostly liquid form of cash comprising of notes and cash and the checks on the system. This is the average money we are using every day on a daily basis. M2 comprises of M1 plus short-term deposits, e.g. 30-day deposits. This could be your unit trust accounts. And then we have M3 broad money. It comprises of M1 plus M2 and also include long-term deposits such as repurchase agreements. The business environment. Business environment can either be competitive, in which case there is a full market information and every company in that case will be a price taker. On the other hand, the business environment is characterized with a single supplier or producer, or in which case we can say it's a monopoly, where still the business will have both elements of perfect competition and monopoly as a mixed economy. You as an economics educator or teacher need to know the circle of a business environment, what goes on, who are the different stakeholders within a business environment. The Namibian Stock Exchange. This is a place where we trade our shares for companies that are listed. The purpose of a stock exchange is where we buy and sell company shares. This is done only by public companies. I'm sure when you go through your notes, you also learn about the different types of companies that we have in an economy. Private companies can still use the stock exchange for raising capital, but only through what is called over-the-counter trades. Please go through over-the-counter trades as well and familiarize yourself with the concept. Only public companies can raise capital on the stock exchange through buying and selling their shares directly to the members of the public. With this said, I end my presentation, but I would like to give you a few notes. Please pay attention to the fact that when it comes to economic didactics, what is important is not you knowing the concepts full. It's you understanding that this subject is more or less a way of teaching you the methodologies and the techniques and the procedures that you need to give out these concepts that you're learning about to a certain learner and enhancing their curiosity and interest to understanding these concepts. So go through your study guide, make sure you read the course outline or syllabus, each overview of each chapter when you start reading a chapter, so that you know what is expected. Make sure you understand all classroom activities that go on as you're learning. I'm sure most of you have teaching experience or about to venture out and go to practices. Make sure when you go through these topics, you familiarize yourself and you relate it to what you are reading. So that would be a major guidance to you as a teacher. I would also urge you to go through the extra materials that are suggested in your study guide. I would also advise you to go through your assignment feedback, go through interact with other educators if you can, to get experiences on how best to deal with these concepts that you have read about in your book or study guide. What I would like to advise you is also read the verbs and understand them when it comes to exams. The exams will be a 3 hours paper. It has 4 compulsory questions, which means you need to answer all of them. please read the instructions when you answering these questions. Make sure you understand what they need you to do. Do they want you to explain? Do they want you to write a report on a certain concept? There are cases where we would give you a situation, a classroom situation or a learning situation that you would encounter at school, and we would ask you to write a report on how best to deal with that certain situation. So please be in a enabling situation for you to do that. You should also understand by the end of this course that your aim as an educator is to provide professional knowledge to the learners that you are going to teach. Make sure you understand the dynamics of classroom activities, how to enhance the learning environment, how to have a conducive learning environment for the students. Last but not least, should you have any queries or need further explanations on certain concepts that we have talked about or are in your study guide that you don't understand, please feel free to contact Mr. Shanika. You would see his details on the last slide. I'm sure you as students know which forms of communication is easily accessible or good for him. He has also indicated his cell phone number, as you see, and the contact times that he's most available to dealing with your queries. So last but not least, read your book, read your extra materials that are requested of you, go through your assignments, read more of the situations and concepts that they talk about, the methods they are teaching you or they are telling you about in your book, and be able to be in a situation where you are able to pass it on to the next person in an understanding way, in a easy way. With that said, I would like to wish you all the best for your upcoming exams. Thank you for listening, and yeah, I hope everything goes well. Thank you.